So let's jump right in. For as long as we've had science, we've had this really fundamental problem, right? The universe seems to be split clean in two. You've got the world out there, all the atoms, galaxies, and physical laws, and then you've got the world in here, our thoughts, our feelings, our consciousness. Well, today, we're going to explore a pretty revolutionary framework that says this whole division, it's just an illusion. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It's like we've been living with these two separate empires. On one side, you have the objective world of physics. It's predictable, measurable, and honestly, seems pretty indifferent to us. And on the other side, you have the subjective empire of your mind, full of feeling, awareness, and all this meaning. Science has managed to build bridges to almost everywhere, except across this giant chasm. And this is where the Quantum Information Consciousness Framework, or QIC for short, makes its really radical proposal. It doesn't just try to build a bridge. It claims that these two empires are and have always been one single unified reality. So how on earth does it even begin to make a claim that bold? To get our heads around this, we've got to start at the very foundation of what we even call reality. The QIC framework begins by completely rethinking the stage on which this whole cosmic play happens. Okay, so the first big pillar here is an idea called neutral monism. And it's actually a pretty elegant concept. It says there isn't mind stuff and matter stuff. There's just one fundamental substance, which the framework calls the implicate order. Think of it like a coin. One side is matter, the other side is mind, but it's all the same coin. Everything we see, everything we feel, just emerges from this one deeper source. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The QIC framework actually borrows from the holographic principle. It suggests that our three-dimensional world, what it calls the explicate order, is really just a projection from a more fundamental two-dimensional informational surface, the implicate order. And get this, that deeper layer doesn't just hold random data. It holds the meaning, the semantics of everything. Our physical world is just what happens when all that meaning unfolds. This is the perfect way to picture it. The implicated order is like the holographic film itself. It's a flat, 2D surface that just looks like a bunch of scrambled information. But when you shine the right light through it, out pops the explicated order, this rich, three-dimensional image that we call our reality. Okay, but wait, this brings up a huge question. If our universe is just a projection of scattered bits of data, how do all those separate pieces, the sight of a car, the sound of its horn, the thought I'm running late, how do they all come together into one single, seamless experience of a moment? This is a classic puzzle in neuroscience called the binding problem. So let's see how this framework proposes a solution. And the answer, believe it or not, has nothing to do with computation. It has everything to do with pure geometry. The QIC framework's answer is something called geometric entanglement. Imagine every piece of information coming into your brain is like a single, separate thread. Well, quantum entanglement acts like a geometric loom, weaving all those separate threads together into a single, unified tapestry. And that tapestry is your conscious moment. The more entangled the information, the more unified your experience is. All right, so the loom weaves the data into a single picture. But that only solves half the puzzle. Why isn't it just a blank, information-rich tapestry? Why does it have color and texture? In other words, why does the experience of seeing red actually feel like redness? This, my friends, is the famous hard problem of consciousness. You know, there's a technical term for these subjective feelings, qualia. It's the raw feeling of existence itself. It's the redness of red, the feeling of joy, the actual sound of a C-sharp in your head. For centuries, science has just slammed into a wall trying to explain how dumb matter and energy can somehow produce the inner richness of qualia. And here it is. This is maybe the most audacious, mind-bending claim in the entire framework. It says that qualia, these feelings, they are not products of your brain. They are fundamental, unchangeable geometric shapes that already exist in that deep informational layer, the implicate order. The feeling of red is a specific geometric shape. The feeling of joy is another. They've always been there. So, and this is the crucial part, the brain isn't a factory that manufactures feelings. It's more like a resonance chamber, a highly sophisticated radio tuner. It literally shapes its own quantum state to resonate with these pre-existing geometric shapes of feeling, which allows it to experience them. Your brain doesn't create redness. It tunes into the frequency of redness that's already a fundamental part of the universe.
I mean, that is a massive idea. But for any of that to work, the brain needs to be a very, very special kind of object. It would need to operate at the quantum level on a huge scale. So how does a warm, wet, biological machine pull that off?
Well, the framework proposes a process that's kind of like biological superconductivity. It starts with simple metabolic energy from ATP, which pumps molecules inside the microtubules of our neurons. This energy causes them to start vibrating in perfect sync with each other. And when they hit a certain threshold of synchronized vibration, something incredible happens. They phase shift into a state called a Froelich condensate, where millions of individual molecules start acting as one single massive quantum object. Now, achieving this state gives the brain two incredible superpowers. The first is global coherence. This allows quantum information to flow instantly and without any loss across the entire brain, which is what unifies it into a single self. The second is what's called a decoherence shield, which acts like a protective bubble, shielding this delicate internal quantum state from being scrambled by all the noise from the outside world. Okay, so we have a holographic reality, and we have a quantum brain that can tune into it. Now, for the final piece of the puzzle, how does the mind actually influence physical reality? The framework proposes this elegant triple lock mechanism that allows consciousness to gently guide the world without ever breaking a single law of physics.
The first lock is something called weak measurement, and this analogy is perfect. A standard quantum measurement is like flipping a light switch. It forces a particle into a definite on or off state. But weak measurement is like a dimmer dial. The conscious mind just gently nudges the probabilities of what might happen next, subtly guiding the flow of reality without ever forcing it. The second lock is topological constraints. Now, if weak measurement is the dimmer, think of this as shaping the path the electricity can take. The specific geometric shape of your conscious state creates a path of least resistance for reality to follow. And the final lock is Landauer's principle, which is basically the price of admission. It states that making a choice, which erases other possibilities, has a real physical energy cost. By processing information, the mind pays this tiny thermodynamic toll, which anchors its influence in the physical laws of the universe. It's a gentle nudge, a guiding shape, and a physical cost. That's how the mind becomes a co-author of reality.
So let's just take a step back and see what all this means when you put it together. Because this isn't just a theory of mind, it's a completely new vision of the entire cosmos. In this view, you see consciousness isn't some accidental byproduct of evolution. It's the engine of what's called the holo movement, this constant cosmic cycle of the universe unfolding from its 2D informational potential into 3D experience, and then infolding that experience back into the information layer. We aren't just watching the movie, we are active participants in the universe's ongoing process of creating itself. And this leads to a conclusion that is, well, it's just really profound, captured perfectly in this quote. We aren't strangers in a dead universe, looking in from the outside. No, we are the very points, the little apertures, through which the universe itself becomes aware. We are its nervous system, its eyes, its capacity to feel. And so, the QIC framework leaves us with this final, echoing question. If we aren't just passive observers, but are actually integral parts of a cosmos that is coming to know itself through us, what does that mean for how we live? What does it mean to be a part of a universe that is, right now, waking up?